Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher this week is Gary Zukov, and I've got quite a long message to get through today, so let's get right into it. Today's message starts with a quote from Gary Zukov, which really is the theme of today's message and meditation. This is from Gary. He says, the amount of stress in your life, take a moment to just process that. Stress, having stress in your life. He says, the amount of stress that you have in your life is determined by how much energy you expend resisting life. I'd like you to really feel that. Take a moment to think about the impact of that. And I guess sometimes there are some stresses which might not be caused by our resistance to life. But I think largely this is true. The amount of stress in your life is created by how much you resist life. Hold that thought for a moment. Let's get into the rest of the message. In spiritual teachings, resistance is a regular topic. And to understand the effects of what resistance creates in our bodies, it may be helpful to look at what resistance means in physics. Hey, Sun Marie, a very good morning. It's great seeing you. Hello. So from a physics point of view, we're looking at an electrical system and asking, what does resistance mean? What does resistance do in an electrical system? And in an electrical system, resistance is created by a component. Usually that component would be called a resistor, that is designed to resist the flow of electricity. That's a great example of what resistance is. Something in an electrical system that resists electricity flowing through it. Some simple examples of resistors are the tungsten filament in an incandescent light bulb and the nichrome spiral in an electrical stove top. And you've seen these, especially in older globes, the little metal filament in the globe that glows and provides light. These metals are not good conductors of electrical current. In fact, they resist the flow of electricity so much that they heat up and start to glow, enough to either light up a room or even bring a pot of water to boiling point. Charlene, a very good morning. It's so good to see you. Hello. So resistance by its very nature causes friction and stress within a system. This can be useful if it's applied to provide light or cook dinner, but it's very unhelpful if resistance is the default state of our nervous system. Similar to resistance in an electrical system, a nervous system that is in resistance also restricts the flow of energy, of information. In an electrical system, if the wiring heats up, the heat causes the plastic insulation to become brittle and break, creating short circuits and misfiring. And so does a nervous system in constant resistance cause the myelin sheath around neurons to wear thin and break, creating misfiring and miscommunication within the nervous system. Hey Linda, a very good morning. It's so good to see you. Hello. So it's always good to stop and ask ourselves this question. Am I perhaps frying my own wiring? What am I in constant resistance to? This might not be an easy answer or easy to answer. It might not be obvious at all. So to try and form a clearer understanding of the concept of resistance, we'll look through the eyes of multiple different teachers. The first one is Byron Katie. She says, I am a lover of what is. Not because I'm a spiritual person, but because it hurts when I argue with reality. What she's talking about is that resistance, being an argument with reality. She says, we can know that reality is good just as it is because when we argue with it, we experience tension and frustration. We don't feel natural or balanced. When we stop opposing reality, then action becomes simple, fluid, kind, and fearless. She says, knowing how to take action tends to become easier when we stop resisting reality. Maggie, a very good morning. It's always good to see you. Hello. Eckhart Tolle says, to offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, ease, and lightness. This state is then no longer dependent upon things being a certain way, either good or bad. It seems almost paradoxical, but when your inner dependency on form is gone, then the general conditions of your life, the outer forms, tend to improve greatly as well. Still Eckhart, he says, the greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is where the pain comes from. Adyashanti says it this way. He says, whatever you resist, you become. Just a different thought, because I see this all over the world in the things that happen in the world. Whatever we fight, we tend to become. We tend to become exactly the same as that thing we are fighting. Adyashanti says, if you resist anger, you are always angry. If you resist sadness, you're always sad. If you resist suffering, you're always suffering. If you resist confusion, you're always confused. We think that we resist certain states because they are there, but actually, those states are there because we resist them so. And one last thought from the Buddha. He says, change is actually never painful. It is our resistance to the change that causes the pain. So that's a lot of information around the thought of resistance. All of these messages say, when we resist life, we tend to not do so well. The question then is, does that mean only accepting and never acting? And Eckhart says this beautifully when he says, accept the present moment exactly as it is, as if you made the choice that the present moment is the way it is. Accept and then act. Then act from wisdom. Surrender and acceptance doesn't ask us to never act. Surrender and acceptance asks us to stop resisting, stop splashing, but then choose what your action will be. Hey Pupe, good evening to you. It's beautiful to see you pop in. Our meditation today is called Surrender. It speaks to exactly this message. Can we recognize what we're being in resistance to and find ourselves softening? No more splashing. And then choosing what will the next action be. You can close your eyes and let's float away together, starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine. Lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. With every breath out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and even drop your head. While you continue your full body breathing, become aware of how your body rises with every inhale and give yourself over to the fall, the collapse, the softening of every exhale. And as you continue your full body breathing, we'll have a conversation about resistance. For a moment, bring these images to your mind. The message started with these images. An incandescent light bulb with that metal wire, that filament on the inside. Seeing how it glows to give light. Or an old spiral stove top. Remind yourself of how red hot this stove top glows. And take a moment to really grasp, really understand what's happening there. Why does the light bulb in the stove top glow so hot? And it is because of resistance. That particular metal is not good at conducting electricity. It really tries to stop the flow of energy. And then because of the resistance, it glows red hot. Our nervous system works in very much the same way. A nervous system in resistance becomes really bad at facilitating the flow of energy, the flow of information. And just like wiring, when it gets too hot and the plastic sheath, the insulation, becomes brittle and breaks off of the wiring, our nervous system experiences something similar when it is always running hot. The myelin sheath around our nerves become brittle and start to fail. It can seem really difficult to get to a place where we can say we have no resistance to whatever life brings. The way that Krishnamurti says, he says, do you want to know my secret? My secret is this: I don't mind whatever happens. Now, not having resistance doesn't mean we have to go along with everything. But not having resistance means we can start accepting reality for what it is. No longer fighting what reality is. And then from a calmer place, decide what we want to do about this. What action do I want to take now that I've come to accept what reality is? We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping our bodies stretch, adjust, and settle down into as much comfort as possible for the rest of our journey. Let's take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward and roll out your neck muscles forward and to the left, forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, take a moment to focus on your spine. Lean your upper body over to the left. Lean your upper body over to the right. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least becoming as present as we possibly can be right now, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. If you don't have the time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole meditation, we'll take the next few big breaths together. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body. Feel how softness slips into your body and settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. As you release, feel yourself melting, feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath. But hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, the topic of today's meditation is surrender. What is your relationship to surrender? Take your next big breath. in the surrender meditation, I like to use the analogy of water, the analogy of our pond. This analogy comes from a really old wisdom that says our natural state is just like the natural state of water, calm and clear. When we find ourselves not in our natural state, it's because we got stirred up by something, just like water. And just like water, just left to itself, we, in the absence of the interference, will return to our natural state again and again, calm and clear. So for a moment, imagine your pond. Your pond in which you are standing half submerged, water coming up perhaps to your armpits. What would your state be right now? Is there a storm in your pond right now, or is the water calm and clear? Take your next big breath. What are you currently in resistance to? Are there life circumstances that create a large amount of resistance within you? And if you don't have that right now, think back a little bit further. Can you remember having life circumstances that created a huge amount of resistance in you? As you take your next big breath, find an example, either current or historical, of life circumstances that you were trying really hard to fight. Take your next big breath. When we encounter unwanted life circumstances, and we have the kind of thought that feels like it shouldn't be this way, life should not be this way, this is not right, this is unfair. This is what causes a kind of splashing in our pond. When we are reactively resisting the reality of life. it often causes more reactivity in our system. Saying things quicker with perhaps more aggression than we intended. Our actions becoming quicker with perhaps more aggression than we intended. And these knee-jerk reactions are exactly what caused the storm in our pond. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, connect the life circumstances you have resistance to with the image of the pond. What does your pond get turned into as you become reactive to the life circumstances you don't want? What does it start to feel like in your pond as you splash? Take your next big breath. And what is so human is once we start splashing in our pond and we stir up all the mud from the bottom, and the surface of our pond becomes choppy and difficult to see through, most often when our clarity completely disappears, it doesn't make us less scared, but more. It doesn't make us less reactive, but more. When the storm in our pond makes it even more difficult to see, our resistance tends to not go down, but our resistance tends to increase even more, leading to more frantic splashing. Take your next big breath. The old wisdom says that our true nature is just like water. In the absence of interference, it will settle down, become calm and clear. So in your visualization, see yourself getting out of the pond. See yourself taking a step back and just watching the water. In reality, this could look like a number of different things. This could be like going for a walk, going for a run, some kind of movement. This could be look like taking a break to just sit in the garden, connect by touching the grass, touching a piece of nature. This could look like journaling or meditating. As you take your next big breath, dive deep into you, see the picture, step out of the pond, wait for the water to become clear. Take your next big breath. And seeing as though the message today was centered around resistance, the first quote by Gary Zukav started with, "The stress we experience in our lives are mostly created by our resistance to life." I want to use one more example of resistance and what it creates. And in this example, we'll use pain, whether physical or emotional. If we live our lives with the belief that pain is something we should not feel, we should not experience pain, and when we experience pain, that means something's really wrong and I have to resist feeling this pain. If we live our lives this way, then pain will always be suffering. Because it is our resistance to feeling the pain that creates suffering. Have you ever tried experiencing pain and not resist it? Allow the pain to be felt, whether physical or emotional. Just sit and look at the experience of pain. Once we are able to, then pain becomes just that, an experience. An experience that comes and goes just like all other experiences. Experiencing pain is a lack of a story about the pain. But the moment we resist feeling it, we're also amplifying the story. And along with our story about this pain that we shouldn't be feeling, comes the suffering. Could you fathom the possibility of growing into a place where even pain becomes acceptable? Knowing that whatever comes will also go. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, slipping out of the breath-holding space and into the next. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a long, slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel how softness slips in and settles in every part of your body. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back or even lie all the way back down. Feel yourself just floating. I'll read to you a few of today's quotes again. Gary Zukav says, "The amount of stress in your life is determined by how much energy you expend resisting your life. Spend more energy resisting life and stress becomes more." Byron Katie says, "I am a lover of what is, not because I'm a spiritual person, but because it hurts when I argue with reality." We can know that reality is good just as it is, because when we argue with it, we experience tension and frustration. We don't feel natural or balanced. When we stop opposing reality, then taking action becomes simple. It becomes fluid, kind, and fearless. Eckhart says, to offer no resistance to life is to be in a state of grace, of ease, of lightness. This state of acceptance is no longer dependent upon things being a certain way. It seems almost paradoxical, but when your inner dependency on how things are supposed to be is gone, then the general conditions of your life seem to improve greatly. Eckhart says, the greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is where the pain comes from. The Buddha says, change is not the thing that is painful. Change is just an experience. The Buddha says that it is the resistance to change that creates the pain. And I always feel like this needs to be addressed as well, because the question arises, if I'm just accepting everything, does that mean I never take action? Of course it doesn't. But it means I never splash. I stop splashing, because splashing is not taking action. Splashing involves a lot of action, but all of it futile, all of it a waste of energy. Eckhart speaks to this. He says, accept the present moment as if you had chosen it. In other words, accept the reality of what you're experiencing right now as if you chose this reality to be this way. And then Eckhart finishes that thought by saying, accept, then act. In other words, first is acceptance. First is stop splashing and get out of the pond. And then asking wisdom, what is the right course of action here? What action is required now that I'm not in resistance anymore? It may sometimes seem really difficult to have acceptance for everything that life brings. But what is truly a lot harder is a life that is in constant resistance to what life brings. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for the clear picture, the clear analogy of water settling when the interference stops. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that often it needs patience. Sometimes I think I've gotten out of the pond, but the water is still not clear yet. I have to do something. I have to make this water clear. Stick my hand in there and do something. Thank you for learning that this requires patience. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for the experience that shows that the reactive actions, acting from a place of resistance, always feels more like splashing in the pond than making a difference. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for seeing clearly that calm action that comes from a place of wisdom once the water has cleared, always seems to have more of a lasting impact. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for being on this journey with us. Hey Sunmini, hello Yuan, it's good to see you too. So happy that you have a bit of time to join us, Yuan. Thank you Charlene, thank you Pupe, thank you Maggie, thank you Linda. Really wishing for each and every one of us to embrace the softness and the grace that Eckhart speaks about. When we are able to put down the resistance to what life brings, there is a certain grace available. And with that grace, I always feel like wisdom is hand in hand. It becomes a little bit easier to see what to just let go. There are so many things that don't need our interference, that don't need our actions. And if we're able to let all of those go, we become so much more effective when it is clear where to take action. Lots of love to you all. Have a beautiful day. Ciao, ciao.